All righty. Um, yeah, I guess we'll start here. I was asked I have a friend well, let me start at the beginning. That's always a good spot. Um, over the past year or so, I've been building some buildings for a friend of mine who's building a model railroad. And I gave a presentation at Naperville on some of the buildings that I built for him. And then I stopped at the Burlington Depot. I think I showed just a little bit of that. And since then, I built this elevator. So this is a Sanborn map. The Burlington tracks would be north or up from the. I have no idea what direction is what. Well, you can look. There's a. Okay, it would be west. The tracks are west of the depot, and then the other building that I'll talk about is this Monday elevator, which is over on the Wabash, I believe. But he's going to move that building. Whoops. We'll talk about that later. All right. So, first, we're going to talk about this Litchfield depot. Now, this depot, I have a friend that's a Burlington guy, and I think his blood is Chinese red. But anyway, uh, I went. I asked him about this if he had any photos of this thing, and he said that's not a Burlington depot. Well, then come to find out from the guy that wants the depot that it's a predecessor to the Burlington who built this depot. So it truly is not a Burlington depot because it's really an odd shaped building. Now, I was told the building was 85 feet long. So I marked off 85 feet with a ruler, and I started placing the things that you can see. You got the window, and there's got to be a door by those stairs. Uh, there's the bay window, another smaller window, and then a freight door. But it leaves a lot of space in the middle where there isn't anything. So what I did was I proportioned this thing, and it ended up being 71 feet long. But you can see here now that it fills up the side much better with the window, the door, the bay window, uh, the smaller window, and then the freight door. These walls are made in three pieces. So I had the bright idea of putting masking tape, or not masking tape, but regular Scotch tape behind them to hold these pieces together while I was cutting them out. And you can see there's the top piece, which is board and batten. There's a strip that I can't remember what size it was. And then there's big groove siding that'll go horizontally along the bottom. On the back, I thought I'd be smart, and I marked these things with register lines so that I could stick them all back together again. So the lines lined up. But the only problem is the tape does not come off. I had to cut all the pieces loose, and the tape stayed. So that was it works okay if you want to. We were just talking about that the other day on freight car roofs. If you buy resin kits, a lot of times the roofs come in two pieces, and or in one piece that you're supposed to break and make it an angle. And what happens is it ends up breaking in two pieces. So if you were to put Scotch tape on it under it before you cracked it, it would stay together, but it won't come off. I hate bay windows, and I only took one photograph. And this is me building the thing up. You see, I've got the bottom section made, and I'm setting the windows on it. Then there's a top piece there that I'm going to put on top of the windows, fill in between the windows with strips, and then make a roof for the thing. And then here the side looks like after I've cut out everything. Now, what's kind of interesting is all last year, I don't know how many buildings and freight cars I made, but I used one X-Acto blade. This year, I changed over and put a new one in, and I'm already on my second one. So I sharpened the first one much better than I have this last one. these are the ends of the thing. We don't know I think there's a photographs of definitely a good photograph at the end with the freight door, and there's sort of a photograph that shows two windows on the other end. The back of the building or the side away from the tracks, which will not be seen. If it was my building, that'd just be plain styrene. I wouldn't worry about it. But basically, I did a mirror image of what's on the other side, and it might be close, it might not. Another thing we had to have is the station. So this is a print that was done, the lettering, and I cut out to see how it would look on here. And then what ended up is decals were made in white. And then I made rectangular pieces that are just the size of the lettering so that the owner could put the decals on the strips and then glue the strips on the building later. Now, this is a photo that shows the building after, I guess there was a tornado and they removed part of it. So they made an ugly building even uglier. But the importance here of this picture is it shows you the colors that the building was painted. And I'm just, look, this is good because I was just asked to make that shed that's right behind the signal there. It's for a hand car shed. Now that I see it, I'll have to remember to make it. Shouldn't take very long to build that. Okay, so here the sides are painted. They're all painted in separate pieces, and then they're all glued back together again. And then I put a couple of roof pieces on the inside because that giant roof that's on here is going to need some kind of support. And this also keeps the sides from bowing. And if you'll notice on the Sanborn map, which I turned around here, there's a brick platform on the track side or on the main line side. And then there's a loading dock with the two spur tracks coming up to it. So here I'm getting some idea of how big a base I have to make for this thing. And I've got a couple of loading docks here that I'm not going to use, but they're Walther's pieces, and I'm just laying them out here to see about what it's going to need. And what I've done here is I've added the brick to the main line side, and I've cut it out where the bay window is going to go. And then I laid this row of, excuse me, of Legos in there so the building will set in place. It won't slide around. The bay window will set in that depression, and then the Legos will keep the back from sliding around. Because this building is going to have to be removable in order to put the station signs on it. So now here I've made the loading dock, and it's going to be glued down, and then I've got some more Legos on that side so that they'll hold the building in place. This shows the underside of the loading platform with all the Legos, and I'll put glue on and then glue it down. Okay, now we're ready to scenic the place. So I painted what's going to be cinders black and what's going to be gravel gray, and then the ballast will be the gravel, and I'll put it on with that salt shaker. I'm going to use, and then there's cinders for the other end. We'll start out by putting on a liberal portion of the Elmer's glue and spreading that around, and then sprinkling on the cinders. And then I wetted the cinders with that push top. It's not an aerosol. It's just, but it has wet water in it. It's either alcohol and water or soap and water, and it helps let the glue soak into all of from the bottom up. I did the same with the other end. And then here's what it looks like with both of those ends saturated with water. You can see the glue standing on it that'll make sure everything sticks. Then when it's dry, I'll pull up those masking tapes so it won't be a problem for under the building. Now, I made a mistake here that it turns out okay, I guess, is I thought I was going to use full strength glue and just dab a little bit here and there. And I ended up using diluted glue instead. So it made big puddles because I'm about to put on some grass. And then the second goof was I grabbed a container or a baggie full of 2 millimeter grass instead of my reclaimed grass, which worked out okay. And here you can see I've put the grass down using Flocket Rocket and then vacuumed it up. And it looks like this. There's a little more grass than what should be on there, but I figured he could scrape it off if he didn't like it. And then the other end, which is probably about the right amount of grass. And you can see one of my scenery glitches or no-nos is to have solid colors. So you can see I've used pan pastels to put tire tracks on this on that gravel. And then the top picture would show the main line side of the building, and the bottom picture shows the back side of the building. And this has since been given to the owner. He's put the signs on it and it's set in place. Next up is this Monday elevator. Now, it's really a big building, and evidently it was on the Wabash, but we're going to move it over to the Burlington, and it was probably destroyed or removed before the time he models, but he wanted it anyway. I don't blame him. So this shows basically where the elevator is and where it's going to get moved to. It'll get moved somewhere north or south of the depot on the aisle side of the tracks, which is going to pose a small problem because of the size of this building. And here's a little better photo. I blew this one up, got to work off of. This is what I used to build the thing. Okay, according to the Sanborn maps, this thing was 104 feet tall. But I'm going to make it 87 feet tall because that's how tall a piece of corrugated styrene is. I know you can buy larger pieces, but these are handy. And I don't think that it would improve the looks of the building to make it any taller. Matter of fact, it might not work out as well. Well, this shows what I've cut the main part of the elevator out. You can see I've got a roof drawn there for what I call the motor house. And then there's a shed, and I've got a slanted roof down there for that. And then the driveway, the doors for the driveway will go through. Now here what I've done is I've taken a thicker piece of styrene and glued it over the outside of the wall of the building, the corrugated, to give a little lip for the roof to sit on. And then the building itself, I cut it out and it's set next to it. So I basically took I don't know how thick that is, 30, 40 thousandths, corrugated, and then added like a 60 thousandths plain sheet in its place. That makes sense. So I was given again the name of the building, and you can see on the ends the size of the height is about right, but everything needed to be squished together to fit on there, just like the real one. And then on the side, it's going to work. It's a little larger font, and it's going to work out okay. So now here are all the pieces of the puzzle. From left to right, you've got the end with the shed on it, Then you've got the part that's going to face the aisle. Then the end that's to the right, and then the piece with the four windows in it will face the tracks. And then again, Legos. I it's Charlie Duckworth who came up with using Legos inside of flat resin kits to hold the corners together, square. And I figured if they work there, they work here too. And I went to the Mall of America and bought some Legos at the Lego store, and I got a handful of Legos for $1,000. And then somebody ended up giving me the whole a couple of whole freezer bags full of them. So I've got more than I'll ever need. This shows what I've labeled as the motor room. To keep the Legos straight against the wall, I use this square, push the sheet up against it, then put glue on, and then push the Lego up against it. You can see where the Lego had slid on the glue to line it up flush with the side. Now I've put the thing together. Thing is really big. I've got the main elevator and the motor room together. And then here I made the shed for it. This will be the track side of the building. It's going to have minimals there. Nobody will ever see it unless you stick your head around it. And then this is the part that people will see. This will be towards the aisle. And I added some styrene on the inside of the driveway so that it's not just empty. And then I'm going to put a black piece of plastic behind that so you can't look in there. There's also a cob storage building, and that's what that tall, thin thing is off to the side. And then you can see how big this is. The base is almost 18 inches long and 5 inches wide. And then this is a foot tall. And this shows the door to reclaim the cobs out of that shed. The building had a foundation around it that was probably 4 or 6 foot high, and I neglected that when I was working on things. So I ended up making a foot long wide, tall foundation just so that there's one on it. And what I did is I have some embossed stone plastic, and I cut those into foot wide strips, and then I use craft paint, gray and tan, to paint them. And it looks like I mixed the paint together, but I really don't. I'll take a little bit of the tan, a little bit of the gray, and then just slap it on so that it's not one color, but some gray and some tan. Now I've painted the whole thing with true color galvanized steel. So it's starting to look like something. I've also added a strip along the inside of the bottom, probably 60 thousandths, with hanging down a foot. So I've got some place to glue that stone foundation to. And this shows the foundation has been added, and all the pieces are. I'm surprised, and I've added a Walther's bucket spout also. Now the thing looked a little plain, so I thought I would do an amateur Tom Johnson job, and I used my corrugated mix, which is gray and silver, and painted what would be some of the corrugated panels a lighter color, and then used Floquil rust and kind of dab that on in places. It's kind of stark now, but I'll take care of that later. And I've also added a stripe with a pencil every 8 feet across the thing. Now it's time to make the ramps into the drive-through. So I had some of this floral styrofoam. So here it is. It cuts real easy. And here's a piece I put up against I've added the doors now, as you can see, and I detailed the inside of them and painted the inside of the walkway or the drive-through. And then here's the other end, the piece that goes on the other end. They're kind of ragged at the end. You can't, I just couldn't, the stuff is so soft. You fool with it much, you break it. Here I've glued them on, and now I'm getting ready to put some texture on them. So what's gray is going to be gravel, and what's brown is going to be dirt. And that's what I did. I've got real dirt in the one shaker and then gravel in the other shaker. And I put that on. And then one end, I showed you how ratty it was. So my quick and dirty method was to put a lot of Elmer's glue on there and then cover it with more gravel and then use that spray bottle, that pump bottle, and put more water on it so everything's soaked up. And then it's the time I hate worse, which is waiting for the thing to dry. And then here afterwards, it shows you, it didn't turn out too bad. It's fairly smooth now. And then this shows people always talk about static grass. Well, what do you do this? How do you do that? Well, this is it. There's Elmer's glue. There's a static grass machine. There's grass. The grass that's in that bag was reclaimed from that dedicated vacuum. I use that vacuum after I've applied the grass, then I'll reclaim it. And so what's in that bag is a mixture of every type of grass that I've ever used. So now I've gone along it with a smaller brush, and I brushed glue onto where I want to put the grass. And then here I put the grass on just the outside, it looks like, to start with. One thing that people talk about, there's nothing you can do about it, is on the side of a hill, it's going to stick straight out. It's not going to stick up like you'd like it to. You can try by using your vacuum to see if you can pull it up, but you're not going to have much success. And then here I've gone over the whole thing and added grass to the whole base. I wanted the grass to go under where the building is going to go, so you won't see any cracks between the building and the base. That's a dead giveaway when you look at a model. Another one of my scenic no-nos. And this shows that variety of grass that's in that mixture I'm using. You can see there's several heights and colors mixed in there. Now I've set the building in place to see what it's going to look like, if everything's going to fit out okay. Now I'm going to add some, I'm not going to layer this by putting another stack of grass on top, because it's not that big an area. But what I'm going to use is the hairspray, and I'm going to use blended turf and a couple of colors of coarse turf to give a little bit of body and floral to the grass. So now I've done that, sprayed that on. You can see I really give a liberal spray as how much of the hairspray you can see puddled on the gray there. And then this is a photo showing the leafy material instead of just having the grass. The first time you put static grass down, you think, oh my God, that looks great, but it can look a lot better. So now we've got the building set back in place. And it's time to put the decals on. Now, the problem with these decals is they do not go into all of those little grooves in the corrugation. So I had to go with a knife and slit every one of them friggin' little grooves. And as you can see, in some places, it pulled some of the lettering off, which is okay because this building is been lettered many years before what you see on the time of the railroad. And the end was a little tricky to put to put the decals on. So I found a box that was about the right height to hold the thing vertical so I could put the decals on and have them laid out. Then you can see my bottle of Salvo set, which I must have used about half of to soak those down and try and get them to settle into those grooves. And then here's the building when finished. And now what I've done here is those stripes that I put across there with a pencil. I took some pan pastels, some dark gray pan pastels, and put it on the edge of one of these triangle that you get at cosmetic sponges from Walmart. They're little triangular white shaped things, and I use that to pull them down. So it gives it a little bit of texture and adds a little depth to the sides, so it doesn't look as flat. It gives it a little bit of a 3D effect. And then the side it'll face the tracks, and the other end with the shed. And you can see in this picture the black piece that I put over the end of the drive-through, so you can't look inside the building. And then this is the part that will be facing the viewer. Whoops. You know what? Half of the presentation isn't here. Yes, it is. That's the whole thing. Yeah. I went, okay, yes, I went through this and I went through that. Yep,
Yeah,
that's it.
a couple.
Goodbye.
That's
I was
two.
right.
That's good. We'll take another one though if you got one.
Well, I don't know what time is it.
Oh, it's 6:58.
Oh, okay, so we've been at half an hour, so you want to see something else. All right, let me get rid of this. How do I stop sharing? Stop sharing there. Okay. Now I need to go look for something else then. Where in the hell is that? Go away.
Well, we're good either way, Clark, but if there was another building, we'd gladly see it.
All right, I'll look here if I can get rid of this one. Go away there. Okay, let me get rid of this one. And minimize all this. Now let me go find something.
Hello, Penny.
There's two more buildings that I built for if I can find them. It should be here.
Come on, baby. Penny.
The problem is it's not in a PowerPoint. I don't know how I can look at these. Do you have any ideas? Otherwise, I can.
Yeah, you can just show us the pictures.
Oh, I can show you. Yeah, I got to find out. Here we go, Sinclair. We'll look at that one. All right. Okay. We'll start with this. Can you see the picture?
Not yet.
Okay, then I'm screwed.
Well, you're not
Let me
sharing.
do something else here.
You stopped sharing, so that's why we can't see it.
Oh, yeah, but if I shared it, would only be that one picture, right?
I
That
guess,
one.
yeah. Well, we
Whatever's
can't
on
see
your
it.
desktop is what you'd share.
If your pictures are all in one file, you can advance them. Are you on a PC or?
Yeah, I can. All
So you
right,
should be able to click
let
on
me
one
see what I can
picture
do.
Come on,
and then
baby.
just advance it from photo viewer that's built into Windows.
Come on.
Okay. What the hell?
What are you staring at? Come on.
There's the zoom.
Okay, you don't want to come up. I'm just fucking around.
Okay.
I've
All
got
right.
one of those too, Brian.
I'm
Yeah.
telling you, she's a pain in the ass, but I love her.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. I'm going to go away and come back.
Okay.
That's the easiest. There, I'm here. Yay. I got this far.
That was quick.
Now, I need to share my screen, but I got to have something to look at. Okay. Now I got to get back to the other one to share the screen. Okay, share screen. Ta-da. Okay, you see that?
Yes.
Okay. Now, okay, there. Yeah, it will. Whoop. Well, what the hell am I doing? Okay, I was asked to make this Sinclair dealer, and that was at Litchfield on the Burlington. And if I can ever get this thing to stay put. Okay, if you look, I can't see it because I got this bar across the top. But above this photo is a picture of the end of a building. And that's all I've got to go on. So I make the sides out of board and batten, make the roof, and I do the sand it off on concrete platform or bases. And then I noticed there's a friggin' window in it. After I put this thing together, I've got to try and figure out how to put a window in it. Well, this shows the side, and there's a name on the end in that window. And then underside, I guess I shouldn't shut up until I see the picture. But anyway, I used for the roof, I had a big sheet of this board and batten. So I used it upside down to give the impression of some roof rafters. And then this would be at the end, and I've cut that window in now. I was amazed I was able to do that after I put the thing together. And then this is what it looks like completed. I painted it white, added a base, a bunch of barrels. These pieces will all be set on the railroad separately and then filled in around them together. But the only end picture, I don't know if I have a picture of that end, we'll see. I also used Clever Models shingles on this thing.
Yeah, those look good.
You put them on one row at a time. They look all right. I believe the loadout shed there is and the standpipe behind it are from Grant Line, and they are really a pain to build. The little shed there with will have the pump motor in it, that I just made, and then the tanks are Walthers, and I used Titchy parts for the walkway up on the roof.
Clark, that thing is called a loading rack, and you got to leave enough room for us truck drivers to get our trucks in there so we can load them.
Okay, here it is on the railroad. Is this no, on my railroad is sitting there, but I left some room on the right, as you can see, to drive a truck up.
Yeah, you're good there.
Okay, well, I was just had the pieces lined up before, and this is the way that I laid them out on my railroad before I give them back to the owner. And I'm sure he's got it placed on his railroad, but I don't think I have any photos of it. Oh, here's a picture of the end. The only thing I had to look at was the one end. I put the window in, I put a Sinclair name on it, and there was a pole in the corner. So I added that. And you can see some barrels on the front. So down at St. Louis, the owner bought a whole pile of 3D printed stuff, and with it was 10,000 barrels. So I have more than enough barrels to build whatever I want to with them. I thought I'd stack some of them up there. And then this shows that little pump house shed that I made. You know, these things take 10 minutes to make something like this. That hand car shed I've got to make will be just like this. You know, you cut out two sides, the front and the back, and stick them together and put a roof on it. And then these are the tanks, and then there's Sinclair decals on them. Also added some piping to the bottom, and I'm trying to think if this is the one. There's another one. Yeah, this has got the Tichy stuff on it up on the roof or the top. There's a better look at that thing, and I painted the spigots on there, the different colors for the different types of material that would be loaded into the truck. So if you screwed up, it was your colorblind fault. And then this would show the tanks prior to doing anything with them. This is after. They come in rings, and you stack them up and put a top on them however high you want them to be. Whoops, and then there's the picture. If I can get it, it won't stay big. That's the picture of the end of the building. That's all I had to work with. And you can see a barrel on the right side there. And this is the full picture that shows that that building. This is all I had to go on. And now we're going to build a different one. These are tanks. I'm worried as we go through the pictures. Tell me when my time's up, and I'll quit talking.
You're good. You're good.
But there's pictures that he has by the depot of a fuel tank and a water tank, and so these are those old William Brothers tanks that fit together like a saddle on a sow. And I cut one of them down for the water tank, and the other one will be the fuel tank. And then here you can see I had some lattice or some work left over from a Central Valley bridge that my kids broke 100 years ago, and I used that for legs. And then I ran a ladder up the side to the top of the tank, and then the fuel tank I added a clean out door at the bottom. And then that painted them silver and shipped them off. I don't know, we're going into a different building here. But this shows basically how I build a building, and you can do it however you like. But you can see that I've guesstimated where I want all the doors and windows to go. And then I cut them out with the X-Acto knife. I basically cut them freehand because I'm going to use windows that are and doors that have trim around them, so it should cover up any mistakes that I make. Here you can see I've added a bulkhead in the middle, and I've added a bunch of Legos again. And this one I actually went ahead and put on the rafter tails, and then I cut all them down. This is, I think, going to be the other building that goes in Litchfield, the other oil dealer that I built. Now that I'm looking at this, so you can see I built a base here for the corner, painted it two-tone gray. Yeah, because it's Texaco. Okay, so these are my choices for sides of the sign, and then this one looks like from the side. And then here it is, finished. Texaco sign on it. A lot of crap. The more junk you can put around something, the better. And the dirtier you can make it, the better. And you got to give it some character. And it's sitting on my layout now just to take the picture. And I see I probably like glued down that piece of angle iron I put on the roof. At least I hope I did before I sent it off. You know, always the photographs are your best critic when you're building something. You take a picture and then you see all your mistakes.
Yeah.
Here's another picture of that with one empty barrel there with a bunch of crap in it for where they would throw away stuff. Then you got some other these. There's a company. I don't think it's innovative somebody, but they make all of these all kinds of stuff that has labels on it. And that's where these barrels came from. They're little metal barrels with stickers on them.
Hey, Clark, I think that's JL Innovative.
That's it. Yep, I think you got it. Yeah, this would be the other end
St.
with
Cloud,
stairs to get.
Minnesota. Jail Innovations.
Yeah, innovative somebody. Yeah. And then
Is that-
here's this roof or the walkway on the top of this one is Central Valley fencing, picket fence that I cut the tops of the pickets off and used it as the walkway. And then I added, they have railings and ladders, and so all that in there. Really, you get a whole bunch of stuff for like $10. They make one on fences, they make one for stairs. I always keep one or two of their packages of each around because you never know when you're going to need something. And I made the little shack there for the pump house, and I used the Walthers standpipe, but I didn't do the loadout because there's not going to be room for it where he's going to put this thing. So this stuff will fit, and that's going to be good. It goes way in the back anyway. So another picture, and you can see those JC or JB. There's some old pumps. I forget what they're called. You watch American Pickers, you know what they're called. The pumps that are, you pump them up and the fuel goes up into that white tank or that clear tank on the top, and then gravity feeds into your car.
Visible pumps.
Pardon?
Visible pumps.
Visible, that's it. Yes. Thank
I
you.
watched that show too.
Okay, you remembered though. All right. And there's a picture of that. The door on here matches the door that's on the main building. So you've got some kind of corporate going on. And then there's these decals were really, really old. I was surprised that, that you can, they were yellow and the yellow stayed, that shows you how old they are. And then they tried to break up on me, and I did the best I could to keep them in one piece, or in many pieces that look like one piece. And then another picture of the same thing, I think. And that's the real one there that I used as a to go by with the colors and the steel door. And then the tank was made with this tank in mind, with the Texaco and the writ spelled out and the star on it. And you can see the Texas company on the building in the background and the visible tanks. That's why they're there. Okay, so all of this kind of ties in. It would have been nice if I could have presented it a little better, but at least I'm killing time here.
Very good.
Yeah, and then this is a different one that I made a long time ago, a Sinclair one. I don't know, you got time to look at this one. It's not in any order, so like this building, let's see if I can find it. Oh, we'll just look at stuff. Okay, this is a loading dock, and a couple of tanks that I made from kits, and I think they're from is it JC Laser or JS Laser?
GC
GS
Laser.
Laser. And they're really pieces of crap because they're half cardboard. And but anyway, that there they are. There. What I use for the spillage on them is, well, let's see, I got some right here. I was using some a little bit ago. It's called I think it's Tamaya. Tamaya, the people that use the stars on their label, they've got a there's no name on it in English anyway. Yeah, Tamaya. And it's called a panel line accent color. There used to be a guy, well, there still is, a guy up in the Twin Cities who used to have a YouTube channel called the Milwaukee Sioux. And he would take this stuff and he mixed it together and came up with something he called taco sauce. And I have a bottle of brown and a bottle of black, but I haven't mixed them. But he mixes a bunch of them together to get some kind of a grunge color that he likes. This shows me, again, you can see I've got just some colors of craft paint there, and it's not mixed together. It's just kind of put on there in camouflage type. I'm stuck. That's the end. I can't go any further. We'll go backwards.
So Clark, I noticed you don't put any X bracing in your docks and loading areas or whatever. Is there reason for that? I've never seen the design too much, but can you talk about how you build your uh, the deck on the next to last structure, the Texaco?
Back to the Texaco.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me
Yeah, see
when.
those verticals? There's no X bracing or angle bracing in there. Can you talk about how you build that or come with the design?
Yeah, could you? I don't quite understand what you're saying with the X bracing.
Oh, the legs there, they're all vertical and they don't have
Oh, I
any
see what you're
from
saying.
from
Yes, I
oh,
got you. I'm with you now. Well, it's simpler this way. That's the actually, if we were, I don't, if this you can sort of see, there's a linear piece in front of the leg and another linear piece behind the leg to hold them up, and then to hold them, that would hold them vertical. What is that, plumb or vertical? Anyway, and then the other piece along the bottom would hold them steady too. That was my plan when I built this. There are others that I've done differently, but this is what I did for this one. Let me
okay.
see if I don't know if I've got a picture that might show that better. Here you can see there, if you look right underneath the decking, you can see there's another horizontal piece there. And then there's another horizontal piece behind that.
Okay,
I
so
don't,
the posts are sandwiched between two, say 2x6 or something like that.
at the top,
Right.
yes.
Okay,
And then there's another one along the bottom. This
sure.
is yeah, this is, I thought this up. This isn't probably best. I didn't get this from the main cabin masters. This is something I thought up myself. But you know, if I could see where, yeah, you would want to put more vertical brace or angle bracing in there to keep stability, better stability, but I didn't do that. There may
Right.
be, let me go back here. There may be another one that may be a little different. Let's
Do you
see.
have joists in there going across for the boards to
Uh,
be nailed to or anything?
um, not on that one, no.
Okay.
This one here, um, let's take a look and see if we can see one on this one here. I think I've got this one upside down somewhere. Maybe. There they are. This is those two buildings on the actual layout. These are in place where they're supposed to go. So you can see he does a really, really good job with scenery. Has a couple pictures on the layout. Back to this again. No, this is all just for looks, not for I should have a picture of the underside of this one. Because this one is made board by board. You can see how they are matched together at the end in the corners. If we go far enough here. And this one's done, you can see there's a cross piece in there. It's similar to the other one, but there's a much bigger tie piece going across.
Yeah, I see those. Yeah, I see the joists.
There's the underside of that
Oh,
one.
okay, sure.
That one I spent a little more time on than the other one. But to make the angles, there's some commercial ones available, and they have the plastic and they have the angles on them. To me, they just look cheap, so I've avoided them. But I've made them with the angles on them before. It's just I haven't on anything that's on in this guy here. Wait a minute, I'm going the wrong way. I'm going back again. This one here was all in I think in the presentation that I gave at Naperville. But here I use pan pastels for rust on this guy. Yeah, there's that.
Are you up for a couple of
then-
other questions?
Pardon?
Are you up for a couple of other questions?
Sure.
This goes back to the pictures of the grain elevator. What did you do for the horizontal separation marks on the siding of that? Were those put in individual pieces?
No, that's just one big sheet. And what I did was took a straight edge and a pencil and drew a line across.
Okay. All right.
And you can go, I did it every 8 feet because it's a big building. You could go measure. I think the panels on most of them are less than 3 foot square, and you could go and get as crazy as you wanted. I'm lazy and fast, and I don't want to mess around with stuff like that. So I just want to give the appearance that the wall is sectional. It's not one piece.
With your general painting, do you use an airbrush or is that a rattle can?
No, that was done with an airbrush.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
I've got a primer now. It's called Mr. Servicer. I can get it at Hobby Lobby, and that comes in an aerosol can. And I use that for a primer. But I don't think I primed that elevator.
okay.
I usually prime freight cars because I use True Color paint, and that really needs a primer.
Yeah. Well, I use a Rust-Oleum primer on most of my styrene structures, mainly because when I don't use it, the coating paint comes out too light. But I'm not physically able to use an airbrush anymore. That's why I was asking. When you cut your openings, you just use X-Acto blade. You don't use a nibbler or anything.
No, I've got a nibbler, but I find it too difficult to use. Let me
Yeah.
see if I can find anything where it shows something being cut out.
Yeah, I'm finding that
Wait a minute.
it's too difficult. And I cut from the backside mainly because it's smoother. And
Yep.
when you have board and batten, you go over a lot of lumps.
Yes, that's the best way to cut that is on the back. A lot of it is, well, like the corrugated, I like to cut from the front because the vertical cuts are easy to keep straight. Because like I said, I don't really, I do it all freehand. But this is a Walther's building. And this thing, there's a little door that slides back and forth there that I have no idea what it was for. But I remember at work in our oil houses, wherever they wanted to store barrels and have them be able to get them off, they would build a structure that was slanted like that. So my plan was they open it up, throw out an empty barrel, and it rolls down, and then they can take it, put it in the truck and haul it away.
Makes
That
sense
was
to
my
me.
thought with this one.
Yeah, thanks.
But that's all that's in this file. This shows what all of those buildings are made out of this box. So you get this box, or I want this building and this building and this building, and then I try to find stuff. But it was fun. But yeah, I just use what is it, number 17 X-Acto blade, the sharp, not the chisel. The chisel 11, or one of them's an 11 and one of them's a 17. I have two knives, or I have three knives. One of them has a chisel blade in it, and the other two, one of them has a sharp one, and the other one has a dull one. So when I'm cutting out decals, I cut them out with the sharp one and then move them around with the dull one.
Makes sense. Well, thank you very much, Clark. That was very informative and somewhat impromptu, which is always fun. So
Yeah, yeah,
thanks.
yeah. I've got a whole pile of presentations in PowerPoint, and that's what I was going to look for is
Yeah,
something. But yeah, sometime I can dig that stuff out.
yeah,
And
that
we'll look
sounds
at
good.
building. I just did one at Cocoa Beach on building freight cars. So or
Okay.
upgrading basically. Maybe sometime we can look at that.
All right, that sounds perfect. Yeah, that sounds
Okay.
great. Well, thank you again, Clark. Next
Yeah.
week we'll be off, as I mentioned. And then on February 5th, we'll have Lester will be presenting on simple casting. And so we look forward to that. And thanks everybody for joining us. Have a great Thursday.
Yep. Bye.
Good
Bye-bye.
night, gentlemen.
Good night.
Thank you.
Night.
Bye.